Howdy everybody. Well, I'm going to show you how to tie now. It's a fly I've been tying, I'd say for about 2 seasons now. It's a clouser striper fly style inspired by Andy Guibord and Maury hatch. And it's a color combination that I never would have thought to catch fish, to be honest. But Andy believed in it, still does, or Andy believes in it, and I think Maury's pretty strong believer in it as well. And it's basically yellow over olive, and I kind of have my own style adapted from those two. But I'm going to show you to tie that today. A lot of people, I know Andy and Maury say it imitates a baby sucker fish or something of that nature, but I'm not sure. I think there's probably some truth to that. But yeah, let me show you how it works here. I fished it a lot last season when the river was off color and little off color water. So it's, even if you don't have sucker fish in your water, it's a pretty good off color fly with the darker olive. I'm going to start it with a 6/0 thread, just white, because we're going to basically cover it up with some dye or color. Lead eyes, set them up there. I like reds for this. I use some all red eyes. These are just kind of your standard nickel and red. Couple different flash tail patterns that I've used on this. I've used the Flashabou 6944, this kind of red and goldish color. I've also used just kind of black and white, or black and clear. Either way, kind of the first layer I do is this Flashabou. It's basically black and clear. It's a 6106. I forget the actual name for it. But one thing I have learned and kind of picked up, if you've watched my other videos, and definitely picked it up from Andy Guibord and Maury and good buddy Chuck, and just made sense, is this concept of lateral line and having something down the middle of the fly that breaks it up, as most bait fish do have a strong lateral line. So I start with this black. Now, in the fly I showed you earlier, I went with the lateral scale kind of right under it, and I'm going to do that for this one as well. It's basically I think it's the midge size lateral scale, 17333. Take a few strands of that. And this is where, if you want to do, or sometimes I'll put the red and gold in there to kind of put right under this. For this one I'll use this though. I kind of alternate. I can't tell you why one fish is better than the other, or when going with the red works better than going with the midge flash. Seems to be day to day. Next I'm going to put some Flashabou crystal flash in, and this is the black and the silver. And this kind of format is really kind of my standard flash tail that I've been running the last couple years. And this black, this right here, I mean, I fish this on that breakdown or that kind of layering of the flash tail. I fish that on pretty much every fly, any color, even really any pattern. Ryan Williams masked rainbows that I tie a lot of, I fish that on as well. Next thing I'm going to do for this fly is I am going to palmer the shank, or the body here, just with this brown chenille. Black, anything dark, olive, gonna help break it up. And this is where that strong lateral line, kind of dark strip through the fly, starts to kind of rear its head. Kind of things I've done over the last couple years to kind of put that principle into some of my flies. Now this pattern I kind of layer the bottom. I'm going to use some gray, I think they call it gray or silver, flash and slinky, just to kind of give that bottom, or that kind of idea of, we're going to have some yellow on the bottom. And you can, if you're in a hurry, just go straight straight yellow. But I think this breaks it up a little bit. Take a little strand and then fold it over, tie it right in like that. And you can build, you know, this is kind of my general clouser pattern. You can tie this in a lot of different colors. I do for the river, and even for the delta or bass or whatever you find yourself fishing for. Again, the amount of material as you tie this in, I always tend to go thicker on the bottom, or denser, more material on the bottom, just based on the, keep the fly riding right, even though the eyes are going to do that. Lighter color on the bottom, flashier color on the bottom, if that, you know. A couple colors I tie this in are this olive over yellow, obviously chartreuse over white, black over purple, a lot of different variations. And to be honest with you, I'm always tweaking it and trying to find new ones that they're going to react to. As I kind of got clued into this one I say a few years ago, but last year was when I really started having confidence in it, and realizing that on a lot of days, it's, if you weren't fishing it, you know, you weren't getting bit. One guy in the boat, one client in the boat would be fishing a different color, the other client would be fishing this, and it was, fish numbers were a lot to a little. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some yellow bucktail over the top, and I do this on a lot of my clousers. I'm a you know, as more and more people have gone to synthetics, and I have as well, like a lot of people, I still try to put a bucktail basically over a lot of my synthetics. And one thing I found is it keeps the synthetics from fouling or getting tangled up, and it just kind of gives a nice taper to the fly as well. At this point, I'm going to kind of fill in that head, and I use the Loon Outdoors products, thick UV resin, and I get this olive color by mixing a few different colors of powders together. It's kind of a proprietary blend, but I use the, what is it? Use the phosphorescent green, or pearl green, okay? And I mix that with the chocolate brown. And it's going to give you this kind of nice dark olive color. And so I'm doing this part of the head because once you do the top and finish the fly, there's no way you can get into this. Even put a little over the eyes. You see, kind of extend it down. And then hit it with the UV light. This is the new rechargeable UV light. If you haven't seen this thing's pretty slick. It's got a little USB port right on the side. You plug it right into your cell phone charger, your computer, whatever, and you are not blowing through massive amounts of batteries. we go. And I always, with the dyes, you always want to give a little coat of thin too, just to seal it all in there. And we'll come back and clean up that top. That looks, don't worry about that. That's going to get coated over. I always shield it to kind of magnify it. Make sure it gets dried. Alright, then I'm going to take the fly, flip it over. Now the top, not layering the colors on the top. I'm going to give it my, quite possibly one of my favorite top colors of Slinky, or Flash and Slinky, and that's called Peacock. Basically like a olive with some black mixed in. Put that right on top. Now at that point, again, focusing on this lateral line, I'm going to put some, just two grizzly, got this big dry fly neck, put two grizzly feathers down the side, just about like that. And you can use, you can use crystal flash, you can use all sorts of stuff to give it cheeks. I'll use that black and silver Flashaboo. I'll even use that the red Flashaboo I showed you earlier for a tail every once in a while on the cheeks. That's another company they seem to like. And for that, after that, I'm going to give it a little overwing. Some olive bucktail. Again, kind of use it as a taper. Just kind of clean that head up. And again, you're going to put a bunch of UV resin over this, so it's not like the old days where you had to make this look perfect before you put the epoxy on it. Tie it off. Okay. I'm going to grab my little tray. I don't know if you guys saw this, but so when you mix up this UV resin, it doesn't dry unless you actually hit it with the UV light. And so whenever I mix up these colors, I put it in this little, it's a little painting tray I got at Michael's. So this way I have any of the colors I'm working on, and if they do get a little thick, this is red, it gets a little chunky and thick, you just add a little bit of the thin to it and it'll thin right up. So that's a little trick. Because mixing the perfect amount is always a losing battle. So I'm just going to kind of thin it out there. And again, think of this as a thin color layer. Okay, this is not the head that we're going to put thin and maybe even some thick over this to build up a head. For some reason, if you put the UV resin with the dyeing powder in it really thick, the light doesn't for some reason cure all the way through it, so you'll push on it and you'll get wet resin underneath, and so you get basic bubbles. And one thing I always do with this is with these heads is I put it up over the feathers, kind of protect that head a little more. I'm just using a toothpick. There's probably a fancier tool you could use, but toothpick works. get it really good. For some reason, there's a lot of times this stuff is once you add the powder, it seems like it's a bit of a slow dryer. Bottom. Okay, then hit that. Then I'll get the thin. Just kind of seals it all in. Kind of spin it, let it kind of circle around, and then hit it with the light. There we go. And you can trim, but I tend to find that about the right length. And there it is. Nice kind of baby sucker fish pattern, or kind of a darker clouser. And again, I mean, let's be real, this is the platform for almost all my clousers that I fish for stripers on the river or even in the delta. And you know, density, how much material you add, how long you tie everything, colors, all that stuff's completely flexible. So there it is. All right, thanks for watching.